I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Welcome to Camnet TV Main News. The headlines. Patriotic Front member CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI praises HH for the 100% military allowance policy. Former Deputy Police IG Charity KATANGA pleads not guilty. Polio detected in Zambia. In international news, Angolan high-ranking military official jailed for fraud embezzlement. And in sports, SADIO main in Senegal World Cup 2022 squad despite injury scare. Details coming through after this commercial.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, ZAMBIA is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. ZAMBIA Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think ZAMBIA Farms.
And now the main news in detail. The residents of Luwana in Luwingu district have complained of being sidelined in terms of development as they condemn the purchasing of a 32-seater bus at a cost of 2.8 million kwacha for Katopola ward at the expense of their developmental needs. The residents are saddened that the Constituency Development Fund Committee could not allocate any project to Luwana under the 2022 25.7 million kwacha CDF allocation. The residents say a clinic is a priority in the area, further stating that the existing clinic will no longer be accessible to community as the missionaries want to take back their land.
ALLOWANCE constituency is among Zambia's rural vast constituencies, and certainly meeting the developmental needs of the people is not easy, and not even the 25.7 million kwacha can do the instant magic. The residents of Luwena are happy that the United Party for National Development Administration introduced free education and increased the Constituency Development Fund CDF, but they are concerned that they cannot benefit from the CDF. They feel neglected when it comes to development, as they demand answers as to why the CDF committee prioritized the purchasing of a 32-seater bus at the cost of 2.8 million kwacha and not a clinic which they requested in the area.
Inga ifema waziami pantu indara imunela that 2.8 million nga kukula manda yakafundisha pantu wakafundisha na kupata wengi abale dala mutubitanda sofa na kupata wakafundisha kuno na kupata wakafundisha kuno aba isabo batata wakainde baletele ikisatara chichitikapo wakafundisha na besa kwa ina tutotelapo no bamande mwakulala ushenda 2.8 manda yanga tuinga kula mpaka kutuka kafundisha bale kwa kuchula aya kutwala kuli basi mwadimo na tufulo.
Others are freedom fighters who feel unappreciated, but that does not stop them from making a plea for help.
Na papata ngafuirisha mono kuchula kwandi state na kufetu mfundo tu mpaka bali akali na kufunika pale kwa chatabu awo tu hali atwayo yo mabafirido ndaga champion kompere chete chitu ku buteko ku poko umuntu na lifikako ifoto alela kumpanga mafwa
Luwingu Town Council Chairperson Rodriguez Murenga has dispelled the claims that development is only being concentrated in selective wards.
That whatever members of parliament want done can be done, because everyone who is there, should I say, most of the members that are sitting on the state committee are paying wages to the MPs, are paying loyalty. Their loyalty is to one person. And I'm appealing to the local government minister, all the parliamentarians who mean well with this country, that there must be a motion in parliament to amend the CDF Act. Because of this kind of monopoly, the bus that is fetching for 2.8 million is allocated funds against what is basic. And the people of Katopola have had several meetings in Katopola ward. They are saying if that bus is bought, they better sell it so that the proceeds can go to other basic needs of our people.
The people of Luena remain optimistic that a clinic will be constructed so that they can cease to walk long distances to access health services. Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Chief Chipalo of Luwingu district is saddened that the district has no mortuary, thus making life difficult for the people. The traditional leader explained that currently dead bodies always have to be taken to Kasama General Hospital. The traditional leader explains that the prevailing situation is making the people incur a lot of expenses. He has, however, informed Camnet News that the problem will soon be a thing of the past, as funds have been provided under the Constituency Development Fund CDF constituency.
Kwena idintu kwadi kutila ti mochari iwamishiwe kwena kunu moku bale iwamyako filafine nomba chila chintu chakale chalionaika na ngfeba bike gasi mulungumo chapwa eyo nomba kwadi kutila ti nomba twala chitashani olo mwarishiba ululu pia lwabuteko tetusende fyoko ya mukushita kwa tina ni mu lupia lobyo lwa mtumba lwali kwa tama procedures ya ene ya kwebati bafuide bayishibo kwebo kutila chulu pia lule ya pali chichinto lule balunga bakutila tachishalire panshila olo kaidi bafuide batwala fida fintu mutenda pantu kuntanshi bakesatila tiyo mwashitile chichinto kwa bulo kutwala mutenda kaidi pansta shimoshine mufuire mwaishiba abala tubombera bwino niba contractor bala tubombera bwino pakutila tibuli obuchushi tupitiremo bwikabwerera pona kaidi echingalenga kaidi mfa mwadishiba sisa chilanshita turela ndefi limbina tuboma likulu pali mfwa nomba tete mutiria mutiyo tusungire fya papene aho kwena icho kwena nga kwabemfwa panshita tulelo lelo kutila tibachitefi kwena tufwebene tulesha na makayonse ukutwala ukasama kunomba kutwala ukasama te kutila tiyoni nshimwa solve problem ufyo kusolva kumafe mochare ikakuikulu.
Residents of Chivolia compound in Lusaka have praised the decision by police to start moving the community gang locally known as junkies from the neighborhood as a way of fighting criminality. Speaking to Camnet News, the residents say it is cardinal that those removed from the community are taken to rehabilitation centers for total transformation, adding that most of them have also engaged in drug abuse. Places like Chivolia compound in Lusaka, among others, have been known for various criminal activities, with the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security recently announcing that it has tasked the Zambia police to remove the criminal elements from communities.
While youths in Zambia make up over 50% of the population according to the United Nations, the future of majority of the youths is not certain, as many of them engage in illicit activities like drug and alcohol abuse, which often lead to criminal activities. Places like John Leng, Misisi, Chibolya and Kanyama in Lusaka are known for high levels of pickpocketing, rape, robbery, and even murder. The state of these communities has been posing a threat to the country's internal security, necessitating the Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security to give a directive for perpetrators of these crimes who are known as junkies to be fished out of these communities. Residents of Chibolya compound, which is one of the areas notorious for these activities, have spoken out on the move.
Vana vakayamba so mpeza valira avo vatibira mafoni vativacha pakati nze nareka so apa yayamba timbera ku Benbela vamatenga mafoni na kuma street kuchoka apa pa Benbela kwenda ku highway paja tivamatengera vantu mafoni
ife sebe tifuna chitikale mtenderi abantu vativutisa maningi ero vintu vatibela abantu ava vatibela maningi avatifuna kwa chemtenderi
bana bakazi bamene sivamvera akapondo kamwe amone suje banabiza muuza supumula muno mwana walo amuza chi mwana wanga so aza kuyanga binango uzanuza bichai na iwe ajo chimuzimayi so bya chilamu mchiboda muno.
Others say that the move will help in saving future generations as children in the community are emulating bad behavior.
Pari madrugs iti maona munga wa matantika ndiyo zo yumachi wawa na ndiyo nyemba munga ni repu munga ni derere vo yuma vonse so bajabana munga aba batu bonsaba baendo baviona munga ni ndiyo so bonsaba bamba kubema bamba kudya bamba kubema bonsaba bana baonongeka mchori mulibe mwana na kusamba baleka kusamba babapeleke kwa mene bazafuna kubapeleka kuma skuzi babapeleke nishi problem ya sira babapase nchito
Apart from restoring sanity in communities, the move is also aimed at saving the youths and guaranteeing Zambia's future. The Zambia police recently reviewed that they have made headways and have so far arrested a number of criminals from the community who are in police custody. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Opposition Patriotic Front presidential aspirant CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI says the move by the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema to sign a statutory instrument number 70 allowing military personnel to get 100% allowances for Zambia Defense Forces on the United Nations and other military sanctioned bases operation is progressive. Dr. KAMBWILI says previously the Zambia Defense Force on the UN and other peace operations used to get 50% of their allowances, with the other 50% being channeled to the government. He adds that this was unfair to hard-working men and women in uniform.
And I was very shocked that somebody has written a UPND cadre that no, the PF in their 10 years were only increasing salaries by 4%. Let's have the facts correct. When PF came into office, and I was Labour Minister, I sat down with President Mike Osata and then Finance Minister Alexander Chikwanda and said, look, the level of the salaries of the civil servants were too low for people to survive. We decided to increase the salaries of the civil servants by a maximum of 150% and the lowest of about 100%. What we did was the lowest paid employees were increased by about 100%. Then the lowest paid employees were increased by 150%. Then the highest paid we increased by about 100%. And the pay rise for the civil servant jumped by 3 times what we had found. And obviously, during the subsequent years, it was okay to increase small, because we had already given them enough salary to sustain themselves.
The Civil Servants and Allied Workers Union, Zambia, says the approval by government for all civil servants in the country to receive a 10.5% salary increment in 2023 will increase their purchasing power, as civil servants have been facing economic hardship amidst the increase in the prices of basic commodities. In an interview, Union General Secretary Makai has, however, advised civil servants to ensure that they borrow to invest in productive sectors and not engaging in careless borrowing, noting that the increase in salaries will also increase their borrowing capacity. He says the decision by government to accept the request for a salary increment after deliberations with 8 labor unions beginning 31st October 2022 to 9th November 2022 was unexpected, as government is currently facing a wage burden following recent mass recruitments in the education and health sectors.
The civil service is one of the biggest employers in Zambia, with an employment population of over 900,000, as indicated by the International Labour Organization ILO. Stakeholders in this sector have been expressing that civil servants in Zambia lack motivation due to low salary scales, leaving them struggling amidst economic hardships, which have seen prices of basic commodities escalating. It is a well-known fact that civil servants are today among those highly indebted in Zambia's labour force, a situation which left many of them crying for a debt swap with government to get relief from their debt burden. After having their salaries increased by 12% effective 1st January 2022, government has again announced a 10.5% salary increment for all civil servants effective 1st January 2023. Civil Servants and Allied Workers Union Sawu Zambia General Secretary Makai has highlighted the benefits that this will bring.
It is going to enhance their purchasing power. Because if I was getting a 2,000 last year, or this year 2022, going in 2023, I'll have a 10.5% increment on that. So when that salary goes up, all salary-related allowances like housing allowance, transport allowance, they will also go up because they are a percentage of a new salary. So they also go up. So what this means now is these government workers are going to have more purchasing power. It's going to enhance their package at retirement, because mostly when you retire, the pension is calculated based on the salary. So you discover that the more we have salary increments, the more we are going to have a better future, because when your salary is calculated at the end of your service, you will benefit more and your pension will be slightly high.
He has, however, warned against borrowing for consumption, stating that the salary increase will also enhance the borrowing power of civil servants.
Please, can we get these loans for investments? Let us not get these loans for consumption. We know in the next 9 days World Cup will be here. Don't go and get a loan and buy a big screen so that you enjoy watching World Cup on a big screen. But get a loan and invest in agriculture, invest in construction, so that at the end of the day, you benefit more.
The union has applauded the government for heeding demands of an increment from labor unions amidst high debt and an increased wage burden following recent mass recruitments in the civil service. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Minister of Health Silva Masavo says an isolated case of polio has been detected in Zambia through the country's health surveillance system, urging parents to ensure that their children are vaccinated as many times as possible, explaining that there is need to ensure that they are protected against various types of diseases. Addressing the media Friday, Ms. Masavo reveals that the detected case is different from that of neighboring countries such as Malawi, necessitating the use of a different type of vaccination. She has, however, assured that Zambia is equal to the task of keeping the disease under control, urging citizens to adhere to preventive guidelines from the Ministry of Health. She adds that the ministry will continue rolling out continuous vaccination programs in response to varying situations as one way of ensuring that the diseases are managed.
What has just been confirmed suggests suggests a different type of polio virus, different from the one that was recorded in Mozambique and Malawi, to which, as Zambia, we have been responding to. This therefore entails the need to respond with another type of polio vaccine to which this particular type is sensitive. Human children can be vaccinated as many times as necessary. As I indicated earlier, that so far we've done around 4 rounds, particularly now in the face of the threats as what we are experiencing right now. This is to ensure that they are adequately immunized and able to withstand the risk of acquiring this devastating disease. So what am I saying? Mothers, guardians, let's get our children vaccinated once again. Don't say we've vaccinated our children 4 times. It is important right now and necessary that we conduct immediately another form of vaccine that will respond to the type that has been detected in the ponds. We must all take responsibility as parents, as guardians, health personnel, and community leaders in ensuring that every eligible child must be reached.
President Hakainde Hichilema has launched the African Center for Disease Control CDC Saving Lives and Livelihood Southern Africa Regional Program, which will enable access to safe and efficacious vaccines across Africa. President Hichilema says the $1.5 billion United States initiative program, which is being supported by the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention CDC in partnership with the MasterCard Foundation, will see more than 1.3 billion people on the African continent being vaccinated against COVID-19 by the end of 2022. Mr. Hichilema has since called on all African countries to accelerate the production of different vaccines and enable nations to save the lives of the people as they wait for support from other donors. He says even as African countries are dependent on other countries for support, it is prudent to build capacity within the African continent and ensure that some of the challenges such as pandemics and epidemics are addressed in the quickest possible time. President Hichilema observed that during the devastating COVID-19 pandemic, African countries were faced with a lot of challenges due to lack of capacity building. He notes that some of the challenges can be addressed if African countries work together. He expressed optimism that the targets set by the implementation will be achieved. And the African Union Commission AUC Deputy Chairperson Monique Nsanzanga-Banganwa said the implementation of the Saving Lives and Livelihood program has 3 objectives. The objectives are to have all the health workers in Africa vaccinated against COVID-19, have all the citizens vaccinated for COVID-19, and to have at least 70% of the eligible population on the African continent fully vaccinated by the end of 2022. Mr. Nsanzanga-Banganwa revealed that the African Union stands ready to support the program and ensure that African people are protected from the COVID-19 pandemic. In other news, Mines and Minerals Development Minister Paul Kabuswe is disappointed that the country has not done enough land exploitation to fully understand how much minerals the country is endowed with. The minister, who spoke at the launch of the National Minerals Resources Development Policy in Lusaka Friday, says minerals are accidentally being discovered by villagers who have gone ahead into illegal mine, resulting in the country to lose huge sums of revenue. The minister says he is confident that the launch of the policy will be followed by the review of the existing legal framework, such as Mines and Minerals Development Act of 2015 and its subsidiaries legislation. Meanwhile, some players in the mining industry have welcomed the launch of the policy, which says the value will be based on its implementation.
The National Minerals Resource Development Policy has been launched in Lusaka, and many stakeholders and players in the mining industry gathered to witness the launch of the important document. And Minister of Mines and Minerals Development Paul Kabuswe, who officially launched the policy document in Lusaka Friday, expressed his disappointment at the fact that exploration works in the country are only at 55%, while minerals are every day being discovered by villagers who have gone ahead to illegally mine the minerals, causing the country to lose huge sums of monies.
What I know is that when you open a mine today, you don't stop exploring. Actually, a month ago, I took a tour of the Geological Survey Department. I was almost collapsing with what I found. And I said, this is why we cannot be explored as a country. We don't even know what we are sitting on. It is no wonder you can hear a villager has discovered gold, because we are not explored. It is no wonder a villager has discovered manganese. Why? Because the country has not been exploring.
The minister, however, says the launch of the document will give direction to how mining in the country will be conducted going forward.
The Mines and Minerals Commission, we want to make sure that we regulate the sector. We don't want lack of integrity in the mining sector. A lot of our people feel and think that sometimes we are taken advantage of by investors. Our economy is a private sector driven economy, but we want a win-win situation. We are well vested with what we want to do. We are running away from politicians who are sitting on top of a ministry. He doesn't even know where he's driving the ministry, apart from singing party slogans.
Meanwhile, various stakeholders and players in the mining sector are happy to see the launch and are hopeful to see it being implemented.
And the things that the government would like to achieve is something that is welcomed by us as Federation of Small-Scale Miners. We shall support them and we work together to see that the pronouncement is being implemented.
So what you see now is that a number of issues have been taken on board. So issues to do with the small-scale and artisanal miners, this has been taken on board. You can actually see that a number of strategies that have been proposed to sort of increase more production in the mining sector have been highlighted in this policy.
A necessary step to building confidence in our jurisdiction, and in doing so it will definitely attract more capital into especially the exploration sector, which we need to do if we're going to grow our reserves enough to support the production ambitions that have been laid out by the head of state.
The country has seen the launch of various documents in the past whose implementation has not yet been effected. The launch of this important document should not only remain on paper alone, but be fully implemented to ensure that the country benefits from the minerals, including from small-scale miners. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
In other news, Vice President Mtale Nalumango has refuted claims of fuel shortage in Lundazi district of Eastern Province, as is being reported in the media. Ms. Nalumango says people should stop exaggerating the issue of fuel shortage, assuring the nation that there is enough stock. The Vice President, however, says the delay in delivery might be attributed as being the reason why some filling stations in Lundazi have run out of the commodity. The Vice President was responding to a question raised by Lundazi Member of Parliament, Brenda Nyerenda, who wanted to find out what measures the government is putting in place to mitigate the shortage of fuel in her constituency.
Some motorists in Lundazi district of Eastern Province Thursday 10th November 2022 complained to Camnet News that the erratic shortage of fuel in the district had caused the transport business to stall, while goods were unable to move, thereby affecting many businesses, and that some motorists had been sleeping at filling stations to source the commodity.
Line yonse kunozona tevutika pano tikamba pano tanga 2 days kutoka kumizi tasiamatenda tinga 2 days per line. Kulimba fuel vandu vatibvisa makontena vachoka kumalawi so sitizwa pamene mngatithandizire boma tipempha.
And Lundazi Member of Parliament Brenda Nyirenda took advantage of the Vice President question and answer time in Parliament Friday to ask what interventions government is putting in place to deal with the matter of fuel shortage in our constituency.
Honor the Vice President, the past 1 week in Lundazi there has been no fuel and people are sleeping on the queues. Madam Vice President, they told me this morning to find out what is it that is happening to the fuel supply. I submit.
In a response, the Vice President has disputed the allegations of fuel shortage in Lundazi district and that no one is sleeping at filling stations to source for the commodity.
Speaker, I think it is important for me to note that from the description of Lundazi, it must be a very developed district. If people are sleeping on the line, looking for fuel, I think, members, let us not exaggerate a situation that in Lundazi people can queue on the line, surely. You know what I'm talking about, Honorable.
The Vice President, however, says the shortage, if at all it is there, might be due to delays by the oil marketing companies to deliver the commodity to the district and has directed relevant ministries to look into the matter.
If that is situation now, it has taken a whole week. I know there are other people that also have raised concern about this. It is the delivery. I think the ministry and the regulators will work to ensure that fuel reaches the intended areas. Otherwise, for the country, we have enough. In fact, Malawi, I'm informed Malawi is purchasing fuel from us. So how come that people may allege that we don't have enough fuel? There is enough fuel, but I'll call upon the minister and the regulators to ensure that all parts of the country have the fuel.
Meanwhile, Mufumbwe Member of Parliament Elliot Kamondo also asked the Vice President if at all government has any comprehensive land audit report in order to deal with the challenges of illegal land allocation. In a response, the Vice President said it is expensive to do land audit, but that government is looking into the matter.
Just talking about land, how much arable land we have, and invite people without proper evidence of what we have, it is difficult. But government is working on that. We know it's expensive, but it is important. It must be done, and I believe that it will be done. But I can't give the date because your question was when. I don't have the dates that I can give. It's my prayer that it can be done. I don't even know whether the budget has captured anything. That means it may not be 2023. It may be later.
Prudence Chota reporting for Camnet TV News.
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Cabbages, onions, maize, potatoes, tomatoes, chilies. At Rainbow, we supply great quality irrigation for the mentioned crops and more at an affordable price. Get our 2,000 meter flat drip for as low as 2,900 kwacha. or our 500-meter round hose for 1,300 kwacha. Customize your own spacing with our 500-meter blank round hose going for 1,200 kwacha, ideal for orchards such as avocado, mango, banana, oranges, etc. Rainglow irrigation, best quality, best price.
Thank you for staying with us. We continue with the rest of the main news. Former Deputy Inspector General of Police Charity Katanga has pleaded not guilty to allegations of being in possession of property reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime valued at over $2 million United States dollars and 1.5 million kwacha. Ms. Katanga denied the accusations slapped on her by the state after appearing before the Lusaka Magistrate Court Friday morning.
Following her arrest in August, former Deputy Inspector General of Police Charity Katanga has appeared before the Lusaka's Magistrate Court Friday morning facing corruption-related allegations. The 45-year-old is charged with possession of property reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime and has pleaded not guilty before Lusaka Chief Resident Magistrate Davis Chimbwili. Ms. Katanga was arrested by the Drug Enforcement Commission (DEC) through its Anti-Money Laundering Investigation Unit in August 2022 for being in possession of property reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime valued at over $2 million United States dollars and 1.5 million kwacha. The commission also seized the 10 Higer buses which Ms. Katanga allegedly bought using illegal funds and also cash in a company bank account in the sum of over 1.5 million kwacha. The allegations that the state has slapped her with are contrary to Section 71 of the Forfeiture and Proceeds of Crime Act No. 19 of 2010 of the laws of Zambia. She denies all the allegations before the court. The accused served as a Deputy Inspector General during the Patriotic Front administration. She is currently on police bond and expected to commence a trial in December following a plea of not guilty she entered this morning. The matter stands adjourned. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Opposition Patriotic Front member Francis Mchema, also known as Commander 2, has pleaded not guilty to 8 counts of possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime. Mr. Mchema is accused of owing property and trucks, among other things believed to have been corruptly acquired.
A Lusaka businessman, Francis Mchema, commonly known as Commander 2, has applied before the subordinate court that his charge sheet be amended on ground that he won't be subjected to a fair trial because it is defective. Mr. Mchema, a member of the opposition Patriotic Front, is facing 8 counts of corruption-related allegations, among them possession of property reasonably suspected of being proceeds of crime and failure to comply with the provisions of the Income Tax Act. He has been jointly charged with Attitude Properties Limited and Frontage Networks Zambia Limited. Allegations in some of the count is that the accused possessed property in Silverest, trucks among others believed to have been corruptly acquired. After pleading not guilty to the said allegations, the accused, through his defense counsel Tutonguluwe, made an application that the charge sheet before court against him be amended as it is defective and will not subject him to a fair trial if the case proceed. His argument before court is that he cannot be charged for possession of properties that belong to a limited company, hence submitting that the indictment be ordered for amendment as it causes subdued to the accused, in that Mr. Mchema, the first accused, has been charged of possession of his own property and also for possession of property owned by a company in which he holds shares. However, the state has submitted that the defense application be dismissed as the said argument about the indictment being defective should have been raised as the preliminary issue before the accused person took plea. The matter stands adjourned for ruling. Miriam Kemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Meanwhile, the case involving the Kabwe Deputy Mayor, Kayombo Mihova, who is being accused of defaming the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema, contrary to Section 79 of the laws of Zambia, could not take plea this morning in the Kabwe Magistrate Court after the accused applied to be given more time to seek the legal representation. This was after the accused discovered that his lawyer Tutu Angolube was not in the court and that also he did not file an order of appointment before the court.
The case in which Kabwe Deputy Mayor Kayombo Mihova is accused of defaming the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema, contrary to Section 79 of the laws of Zambia, has failed to proceed in the Kabwe Magistrate Court after the accused applied to be given more time to seek for legal representation. This was after the accused discovered that his lawyer, Tutu Angolube, who was scheduled to represent him in the matter, did not file in an order of appointment before the court. It was at this stage the accused opted to make fresh application to the court to be given time to seek and formalize his legal representation, in which there was no objection from the state. Meanwhile, the state has warned the accused that the state will have no option but proceed with the matter should there be any further delay by the accused and his defense team in the next session. The state has further advised and indicated to the accused that, with or without the lawyer, they will proceed with the matter. The matter before Magistrate Kathy Mumba has been adjourned to 21st November 2022 for commencement of trial. Meanwhile, scores of Patriotic Front PF supporters, led by Central Province PF Chairman Billy CHISHIMBA, accompanied the accused to the court. Petronella Msangulule, Camnet TV News in Kabwe.
65 agricultural camp extension officers drawn from selected districts in the country are currently undergoing training in renewable energy of solar to drive farm operations in irrigation. Ministry of Agriculture, Human Resource and Administration Director Lubasi Sakwiba said the training in solar energy comes against the backdrop of climate change that has not spared smallholder farmers who are the majority food producers. Mr. Sakwiba was speaking during the launch of the Green People's Energy Solar Agriculture Operation at the Zambia College of Agriculture in Monze. For details, here is Lawrence Kabutu of the National Agricultural Information Service in Monze.
65 agricultural camp extension officers drawn from selected districts in the country are currently undergoing training in renewable energy of solar to drive farm operations in irrigation. Ministry of Agriculture, Human Resource and Administration Director Lubasi Sakwiba said the training in solar energy comes against the backdrop of climate change that has not spared smallholder farmers who are the majority food producers. Mr. Sakwiba was speaking during the launch of the Green People's Energy Solar Agriculture Operations at the Zambia College of Agriculture in Monze.
Even with solar power, our current economic conditions call for a switch to renewable energy of solar to drive our farming operations such as irrigation, lighting, heating, and cooling.
And the Green People's Energy Project Manager under the German International Corporation, GIZ, Christine Broha, said the German government has partnered with the Zambian government in skills development in solar energy.
We have been working, we have had the pleasure to be the implementing agency of the German federal. We have partnered together with the Zambian government in 2020 to support the skills development, particularly for solar energy.
Meanwhile, Solar Industry Association of Zambia President Matanda Mwewa observed that in Zambia there are still insufficient trained professionals with technical aptitude to install, maintain and handle solar application products.
In the Zambian solar industry, there is still insufficient trained professionals with technical aptitude to install, maintain and handle solar application products.
Reporting, Lawrence Kabutu in Monze.
International and sports news coming through right after this commercial.
You know I can take Arabic.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at what we have in our international item. Angolan Major Pedro Lusati was sentenced today to 14 years in prison and a further 10 days after he was found guilty of embezzlement, fraud and transporting currency abroad and money laundering. According to the judge, it was proven in the trial that Pedro Lusati committed the crime of embezzlement by adulterating and inflating salary sheets of the security house of the President of the Republic of Angola in the period between 2008 and 2018. The well-known Lusati case involved 49 defendants, including high-ranking military and civilian officials, allegedly involved in the embezzlement of millions of dollars through a fraudulent scheme of payment of inflated salaries and to ghost employees in the units assigned to the Angolan President's House of Security. The co-accused Jacinto Hengobe, the assistant to the Secretary General of the Angolan President's Security House, was sentenced to 10 years in prison for the crime of embezzlement and 3 years in prison for the crime of money laundering. Here's a roundup of international news.
Angolan Major Pedro Lusati was sentenced to 14 years in prison and another fine of 100 days in detention for crime of embezzlement, fraud in transporting currency abroad. That also includes money laundering. Lusati was found guilty for committing crimes of embezzlement, for adulterating and inflating salary sheet of the security house of the President of the Republic of Angola in the period between 2008 and 2018.
In Ethiopia, the Tigray rebel authorities denied claims made this Friday by the Ethiopian government that 70% of the Tigray region is now under the control of the federal army. The exchange marked the clear resurgence of tension between the two sides, just over a week after the government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front reached an agreement to end the bitter two-year conflict. Talks are still underway in Nairobi, Kenya, on the implementation of the agreement, including the disarmament of the rebels, the restoration of federal authority in Tigray, and the delivery of aid. Humanitarian aid is reported to be flowing into Tigray like never before. Again, this is an assertion by the Ethiopian government, which is denied on condition of anonymity by humanitarian workers on the ground.
The Amazon Group has finally been authorized to build its first African headquarters in Cape Town, South Africa. The project was previously suspended by the South African justice system last March because the land is considered sacred by the Khoisan, who are the descendants of the first inhabitants of the country. The Khoisan group said they were deeply disappointed by this verdict.
Let's get into sports news. Sadio Mane has been included in Senegal's squad for the World Cup in Qatar despite suffering an injury scare on Tuesday. The 30-year-old forward was forced off in the first half of Bayern Munich's 6-1 victory over Werder Bremen. The German champions said he had an injury to the head of his right fibula and will miss Saturday's game against Schalke. Senegal begin their Group A champion against the Netherlands on 21st November. On Thursday, Sadio spent the whole day in Munich before traveling to Austria for further tests. The good news is that he does not need an operation. Former Liverpool player Mane is Senegal's star player and talisman, having scored the winning penalty when the Teranga Lions became continental champions for the first time in February, defeating Egypt in a shootout in the Africa Cup of Nations final. Less than 2 months later, Mane reported defeat, netting the decision spot kick as Senegal beat Egypt in a clash that again pitted him against the Liverpool teammate Mohamed Salah on penalty in a crunch playoff to qualify for Qatar. As his country's record goal scorer with 34 goals in 90 cups, Mane's fitness is key to Senegal's chance, and Cisse will be sweating on his availability ahead of their opener against the Dutch, with matches against host Qatar on 25th November and Ecuador on 29th November to follow. Well, that sports item brings us to the end of Camnet TV main news, but before we go, here are the headlines once again. Patriotic Front member CHISHIMBA KAMBWILI praises HH for the 100% military allowance policy. Former Deputy Police IG Charity Katanga pleads not guilty. Polio detected in Zambia. And in international news, Angolan high-ranking military official jailed for fraud embezzlement. And in sports, Sadio Mane is in Senegal World Cup 2022 squad despite injury scare. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of Psalm 23 verse 2, and it reads, "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters." Thank you for watching. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Pleasant viewing.